Somewhere in northern Pakistan, on a cliff so steep that a single wrong step means death, there is a hunter willing to pay $370,000 for the right to walk toward it. Not to buy the mountain, not to buy a house, just for a permit. A single piece of paper that allows one person, one time, to try to get close to one animal. That animal is the Markhor. And by the time this video ends, you will understand exactly why people are willing to pay more for this creature than almost any other hunting license on the face of the earth, and why the animal itself deserves that kind of reverence far more than any hunter ever could. Most people in the United States have never heard the word Markhor, and it's not pronounced the way it looks either. Say it like Markhor, 2 clean syllables, and you'll already know more about this animal than most of the internet. It is not on any nature documentary playing in heavy rotation. It is not a mascot, not a zoo headliner, not something you'd see trending online next to lions and elephants. And yet this animal is quietly one of the most extreme athletes in the natural world, a creature that treats vertical stone the way a deer treats an open field. And today, you are going to learn things about it that even most wildlife enthusiasts have never come across. Let's start with the basics because you need the full picture before the strange details will make sense. The Markhor is a wild goat and not a small one. Adult males can weigh over 240 pounds, standing more than 3 feet tall at the shoulder, making it one of the largest wild goat species alive today. Its scientific name is Capra falconeri, and it lives across a scattered, rugged stretch of Central and South Asia, including Pakistan, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and a small, fragile population tucked into the Pir Panjal range of Jammu and Kashmir in India. Here's the first detail almost nobody in the West knows. There isn't just one type of Markhor. There are 5 recognized subspecies, each shaped slightly differently by the exact mountains it calls home. The Aster Markhor, sometimes called the flare-horned Markhor, lives in the Gilgit-Baltistan region, its horns curling outward in a wide, dramatic flare. The Kashmir Markhor, found in Chitral and parts of Indian Kashmir, has a tighter, more twisted spiral. Then there is the Bukharan Markhor, the Kabul Markhor, and the Suleiman Markhor, each named for the region it inhabits, each slightly different in horn shape, body size, and coat pattern. Nature essentially ran the same evolutionary experiment 5 separate times across 5 separate mountain ranges, and each time it produced a slightly different masterpiece. Now let's talk about where the name actually comes from, because this is where things get interesting, and where a lot of nature channels get it wrong. Most videos will tell you that Markhor means snake eater in Persian, and that the name comes from the animal's supposed habit of hunting and killing snakes. It's a great story. It's also almost certainly not true. Linguists point out that the word likely comes from the Persian term markhor, meaning curly, a direct reference to those twisting corkscrew horns. The snake eater legend probably grew out of folklore, a story that spread because the horns visually resemble a coiled serpent, not because the animal was ever seen hunting one. Locals in some regions did believe that Markhor could kill snakes with their hooves, and that eating the flesh could cure snake bites. But that's mythology layered on top of biology, not biology itself. It's a small distinction, but it's exactly the kind of detail that separates a surface level fact from real research. Now, on to the reason you clicked on this video in the first place, the climbing. The Markhor's entire body is engineered for vertical terrain in a way that puts human climbing technology to shame. Each hoof splits into 2 toes that move independently of one another, allowing the foot to wrap around uneven rock rather than sitting flat against it. The outer rim of the hoof is hard and sharp, capable of digging into narrow cracks and tiny ledges, while the center of the hoof is soft and slightly spongy, almost like a built-in grip pad that molds itself around bumps and curves in the stone. Hard edge for cutting into rock, soft center for gripping it. That is precisely the same design principle used in modern professional rock climbing shoes, except the Markhor was born with it already installed. Add to that a set of short, incredibly powerful legs, and you get an animal capable of launching itself several feet straight up a rock face in a single explosive movement, landing on a ledge narrower than a shoebox without hesitation. Their sense of balance operates on a level that looks almost unreal on camera, correcting instantly for a slipping hoof or a crumbling piece of stone before a human eye could even register the mistake happened. And here's something that consistently shocks first-time viewers. Markhor kids, sometimes just days old, are already following their mothers up steep rocky slopes. There is no gentle nursery phase. From nearly the first week of life, movement across vertical terrain is not a skill to be learned eventually. It is survival immediately. There's also a physical detail that rarely makes it into any video about this animal. Markhor are what biologists call sexually dimorphic, meaning males and females don't just look a little different, they look almost like separate animals entirely. Males can weigh more than double what females weigh, and while both sexes grow a beard-like tuft of hair on the chin, the male's grows into a long, thick, almost regal mane that thickens even further during mating season. Female horns typically reach somewhere between 6 and 10 inches, elegant but modest. Male horns, on the other hand, can spiral outward for over 5 feet, making them some of the longest horns relative to body size of any wild goat species on the planet. Horn growth never really stops either. It continues year after year, meaning the oldest, most dominant males in a herd are almost always instantly recognizable by the sheer scale of what's growing out of their skull. And it doesn't stop at rock. Markhor have been documented climbing into sloped trees, balancing on branches many feet off the ground, just to reach leaves and shoots that nothing else in the area can access. When the ground runs out of food, this animal simply goes up and finds more. Before we go further, if any of this is surprising you the way it surprised me during research, take 2 seconds and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now, because the next part of this video covers the actual predator that hunts this animal on those same cliffs, and how one of the most unusual conservation programs on the planet quietly saved this species using a strategy that sounds almost backwards on paper. Let's talk about why the Markhor needs to be this good at climbing in the first place. Its primary predator is the snow leopard, one of the most elusive big cats on Earth, an animal so rarely seen in the wild that researchers sometimes go years without a confirmed sighting in a given territory. Snow leopards are themselves phenomenal climbers, built with oversized paws and long tails for balance on rocky, snow-covered slopes, which means the chase between predator and prey unfolds almost entirely on terrain that would be lethal for most other species involved. Wolves pose a threat as well, particularly to weaker or younger animals, and in a detail that surprises most people, golden eagles have been documented preying on newborn Markhor kids, swooping in on animals too small to defend themselves on open exposed rock. There's a small, often overlooked population worth mentioning here too, because it rarely gets attention outside of India. Tucked into the Pir Panjal range in Jammu and Kashmir sits one of the world's most fragile Markhor populations, isolated from the larger herds across the border in Pakistan by decades of political division and habitat fragmentation. Conservationists in the region have run dedicated recovery projects for years, tracking small family groups through camera traps and careful population counts, treating every single surviving animal there as genuinely precious. It's a quiet reminder that this species doesn't belong to just one country. It survives, sometimes barely, across a scattered patchwork of borders, each with its own local pressures and its own local heroes trying to keep it alive. For decades, though, the biggest danger to the Markhor wasn't a predator at all. It was overhunting, paired with habitat loss that pushed the species toward the edge. By the mid-20th century, populations across Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Central Asia had collapsed so severely that the Markhor was formally classified as endangered.